Priyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We are in the middle of an important Bhagavad Gita chapter. This is the 9th chapter, where Krishna is revealing the royal wisdom and the royal secret about his higher nature. At this particular part, he's talking about being a bhakta and how you need to be able to see God uh, in Eka Rupa, Vishwarupa, Aneka Rupa, and you will see that gradually this blends on to the next chapter of Vibhuti to be able to see Ishvara Vibhuti. So some of the best verses on Bhakti we are going to see now. To begin with, Venkatesh Prasad, your time.
गुरुभ्यो नमः अवजानन्ति मां मूढाः मानुषीं तनुमाश्रितं परं भावमजानतः मम भूतमहेश्वरम्. All the speakers who spoke on Wednesday have done a fantastic job in explaining Nirguna Ishvara Swarupa. To recap and summarize what they said, as it is very important and forms the basis for the study of Sloka 9.11. Verse number 4 to 10 of chapter 9 defines and explains the Paraprakriti or higher nature of Ishvara or Nirguna Ishvara Swarupa. To put each of these essential features in a nutshell, Nirguna Brahman or Ishvara is Sarvagatam, Avyaktam, Mithya Jagat Adhishtanam, Asangat Swarupa or Akashavat, Srishti Sthiti Laya Karanam or Jagat Karanam, Surya Alokavat or Sakshi Bhava, and Akarta Abhokta. Each of these attributes have been dealt with in detail on Wednesday by all the speakers. And so, the seeker or bhakta is expected to understand and dwell in this Nirguna Ishvara Upasana in order to attain Jivan Mukti or Sadhya Mukti in this life. Unfortunately, people confined to Sakama Bhakti and Saguna Ishvara Upasana, which will only lead to Krama Mukti. As we studied in chapter 8, one has to travel after death to Brahma Loka, gain the knowledge of Nirguna Ishvara from Brahmaji himself, and then proceed to Jivan Mukti and later Videha Mukti. But Krishna is not satisfied in giving us Krama Mukti. He wants us to become Sadhya Mukti or Jivan Mukti by practicing Nirguna Brahma Upasana. Saguna Ishvara Upasana is only for beginners. Yes, we know that without Saguna Ishvara Upasana, one cannot reach Nirguna Ishvara Upasana. Saguna Ishvara Upasana is a stepping stone. However, without Nirguna Ishvara Upasana, the spiritual journey is incomplete. Dr. DVG puts it beautifully in Kagga and defines Nirguna Ishvara. Satya Shiva Sundarada Satchidanandanada Bhitiyalli Banna Bannada Jiva Chitra Nitya Neenada Nenedu Chitradali Manavirise Vritti Tanmayavahudo Mankutima. The ground reality is that people are ignorant of this. Paramasatya, Mudaha Parambhava Ajanataha. Krishna observes in this shloka, confused, he calls them. They do not know my higher nature, real nature, and fall in sansara and suffering. Sansara Karanam is the topic of this shloka. Friends, let us see what is the cause of this samsara or suffering. We are expecting permanence from impermanence, a case of wrong expectation. How can you expect security from insecure, purnatvam from finite? If one wants permanent happiness, he or she should go to something which is permanent, which is higher nature of formless, Ishvara. Kaivalya Upanishad says, na karmana, na prajaya, na dhane, na tyage amrutatva manashuhu. None of the above will give permanent peace and security as they are all perishable. It is not a sin to be born with ignorance. All of us are born so. We did not know to speak, we learned it. We did not know how to write, we learned it. We did not know the languages, mathematics, science, history, geography. Did we not learn? Yes. It is a sin to be a perpetual ignorance. If there is darkness in the room, what will you do? Will you chant Vishnu Sahasranamam, Hanuman Chalisa? They are good, but will they give light? No. Simple. You will light a lamp. The lamp of knowledge to remove darkness of ignorance. Ironically, these people are allergic to Vedanta Vichara and hence are far from real Gnanam of higher nature of God. In absence of real knowledge, they are confined, they are bound and by lower nature of God. Manushim Tanumashtritam, various forms of Nirguna Brahma. If anyone says, I have seen God, we don't dismiss him, we don't dispute him, but the God he has seen is not of higher nature, but of lower nature. Indriya Gochara is not the trait of higher nature. Whatever is in form is subject to change. Whatever is born is bound to perish. If Rama has a date of birth, Chaitra Shuddha Navami, he has a date of Svargarohana. So is the case with Krishna, who was born on Shravana Krishna Ashtami. So are all the other avatars. They are all subject to Asti, Jayati, Vardhati, Viparinamati, and Vinashyati. These people are degrading me, disrespecting me from formless to form, Nitya to Anitya. Avajananti Mam, they are ignoring my higher natural self, higher nature. Adi Shankara has written a beautiful shloka called Parapuja, which goes as under. Purnasya avahanam kutra sarvadharasya cha asanam स्वच्छस्य पाद्यम अर्घ्यंच शुद्धस्य आचमनम कुतः निर्मलस्य कुतः स्नानं वस्त्र विश्वोदरस्य च निरारंभस्य उपवीतं पुष्पं निर्वासनस्य च निर्लेपस्य कुतो गंधो रम्यस्य आभरणं कुतः नित्य तृप्तस्य नैवेद्यः तांबूलं च कुतो विभो स्वयं प्रकाशमानस्य कुतः नीराजनं विभोः अंतर्बहिश्च पूर्णस्य कथमुद्वासनं भवेत् प्रदक्षिणा हि अनन्तस्य हृदय शुद्धस्य च कुतो नतिः वेदवाक्यैः वेद्यस्य कुतः स्तोत्रं विधीयते एवमेव परा पूजा सर्वावस्थासु सर्वदा एकबुद्ध्या तु देवेशे विधेया ब्रह्मवित्तमेः. Shankara is not opposed to having a personal God with form, but this Saguna Ishvara Upasana is useless unless it culminates in Nirguna Ishvara Upasana. The above Shodasha Upachara is actually Apachara. People do not know me. In glorifying me, they are actually degrading me. Avajananta. So do not hold on to changing fluctuations, fluctuating objects. Oh, people, lean on to me, lean on to my Parambhavam, which is the substratum of all the beings, Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram, which is the highest Lord, this highest nature of Nirguna Swarupam. But they do not know this. They do not lean on this. So naturally, what happens? Dr. Sandhya will explain in the next sloka. Hari Om.
Thank you, Venkatesh, for a very nice summary of the nature of God, the lower and the higher nature, and the importance of being able to perceive the higher nature of God. Dr. Sandhya, your time, madam.
Hari Om. Mogashaha Moga Karmano Moga Gnana Vichetanaha Rakshasim Asurim Chaiva Prakriti Mohinim Shritaha. What the Lord is trying to say here is that those who do not look for a spiritual goal of life are actually those indiscriminate ones, and they have vain hopes, vain pursuits, and vain knowledge, and they're actually following the ways of the Rakshasas and Asuras. Now, what he means here is that people who have Mohini Prakriti are deluded into thinking that they are individuals in the world, and they make worldly happiness the sole aim of their life. Due to their wrong understanding and judgment, they try to get security, like Mr. Venkatesh Prasad said, from the fulfillment of their desires. Desires lead to further desires and also greed. And once the desires cannot be dharmically done, these are immoral or illegal ways are used. And so therefore, they become rajasic more and more in their lives. And those with predominant rajasic buddhi are called rakshasas. Now, if the desires cannot be fulfilled and obstacles come in their way, then they become angry and krodha comes. So kama and krodha, they become tamasic, and those people who have predominant tamasic type of buddhi are called the asuras. So actually the rakshasas and the asuras are only referring to the type of personality and predominant characteristic of the person and not a special race. Not only that, people who are trying to only get vain pursuits in life may also worship deities who can give quick results, constantly looking for ways to fulfill their happiness. They're leaning on a perishable world for security, and like Swami Param says, it is like sitting on a cardboard chair. These are completely looking good, but definitely cannot give you the security that you're looking for. These indiscriminate ones do not learn from experience, unable to distinguish between the real and the real, and so therefore they settle for transitory happiness. So therefore their hopes are false, their pursuits are false, and their knowledge are also false. Because they are carried away by a clouded intellect, they forget the real goal of life. Now there are three things which are most important: Manushyatvam, Mumukshatvam, and Mahapurusha Sangaha. Manushyatvam already we have. Mumuksha is what we have to really look for. These indiscriminate ones do not have that. And therefore, he is contrasting, Sri Krishna is contrasting these people who do not have mumukshutva with the wise people in the next shloka who have knowledge, proper understanding of the world. So their Jnana Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, all of them are leading more towards God dependence rather than world dependence. So that is one aspect of it. He is also talking about Mahapurusha Sangaha, and here he is saying, in the previous shloka, he said that those who look upon him as a human being, as only a normal person, are really missing the goal. And what he is implying here is that our gurus, our saints, our Sri Krishna himself, we should look at them as predominantly Saguna Brahman, who have out of mercy and compassion taken pity on us and are trying to lead us onto the right path. So therefore, these are the things that we have to look for. Let us remember to have less world dependence and lean towards God dependence. So this is actually a shloka which is telling us what not to be rather than what to be. Hari Om.
Thank you, madam. A very nice explanation of a verse which sounds very much like Bhajagovindam, like a Moha Mudgara to hammer our delusions and to be very clear of our vision of God. Dr. Sandhya Ravi, we now have a positive verse from you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Hari Om. This is verse 13 of chapter 9. Mahatmanastu mam partha devim prakriti mashritaha bhajanti ananya manaso nyatva bhutadim avyayam. The meaning of this verse: on the other hand, Arjuna, great soul embraced the divine nature, knowing me as the prime source of all lives and the imperishable eternal, worship me constantly, undistracted, nothing else in the mind. So these two verses that Sri Venkatesh Prasad and Dr. Sandhya spoke about were actually referring to the predominance of the tamasic and the rajasic gunas, because the Prakriti has three gunas of manifesting qualities. This, on the other hand, mentions those persons who are filled with the third guna, that is the sattvic, wise guna. Krishna always brings the contrasting factors against each other to drive home a point. The deceitful nature, the Mohini Prakriti of the previous verse, is contrasted with the Daivi Prakriti, the divine here. So going to the verse 2 is the indeclinable that has been employed in this verse to bring out the contrast. The word Prakritim, along with the adjective Daivim qualifying it, signifies virtues of the Sattvic type. Those virtues which lead one to God and which are mentioned actually in chapter 16, the Daivi Asuri Sampat. Verse 1 to 3 in this chapter talk about 26 different names: Abhayam, Akrodha, Satyam, Tyaga, etc. And to adopt and cultivate such what is embracing the divine, Ashritaha Daivi Prakriti. Mahatmanaha means noble souls. The Punyavantaha, Sattva Pradanaha. They are indeed very fortunate to be born into a culture family, possibly because of Purvajanma Punya. Like Sir always says, we are so fortunate to be able to attend these classes, think of the Gita and read the Gita, learn the Gita. So they have a proper spiritual guidance and lead a dharmic life. So this combination of Sattva Guna Pradhana, and the mind purifying karmas that these people do, and over and above the Ishvara Anugraha that they have, leads one to this Viveka called the Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka, and therefore realizing the imperishable nature of God. So what happens when this Viveka dawns? We realize that security, happiness, peace of mind we cannot get from the world, but only from God. Now, such Mahatmana Manaha have understood Mam Nyatva, that is to be the ultimate refuge. And who is this Mam? This Mam here refers to the one who is Bhutadim, the Jagat Karanam, the prime source of all lives, who is responsible for Shrishti Sthiti Laya. In other words, worlds inhabited by all of these beings, and the body, senses, mind, intellect, and objects of enjoyment. As it is said in chapter 7 that we've studied earlier, verse 6, Etadyonim bhutani sarvani tyu padaraye aham kritsnasya jagatha prabhava pralayastata. So I am the source as well as the ground of dissolution of the entire universe. And later in this very chapter, that is chapter 9, verse 18, Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasha Sharanam Suhrit Prabhava Pralayasthanam Vidhanam Bijam Avyayam. I am the goal, the upholder, the Lord, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the origin and the dissolution, the ground, the resting place, and the imperishable seed. So he is Avyayam, the imperishable, eternal, Ananta, infinite. Here Swami Param, like Sandhya mentioned earlier, gives an example of the cardboard chair to state that we can use it for everything other than sitting on it. Similarly, other than God, do not lean on anything else for peace, security, is what is implied here. The wise, even before experiencing trauma, learn to lean on the Lord, just like Arjuna, only by imagining the loss of his teacher Drona and Bhishma, he was plunged into despair and turned to Krishna for support. So the great souls, knowing the imperishable, eternal nature of Bhutadim Brahman, constantly worship. And how do they worship? The term is Ananya Manasa, with nothing else in mind, with Chitta Ekagrata, with a mind that is not attracted to anything other than Brahman. Even while going through the different ashramas like Grihastha ashrama, of the 4 Purusharthas, the Artha and Kama are just incidental. They lead a dharmic life and achieve the ultimate goal, that is moksha. Such a devotee of divine nature constantly worships God. And the manner of this is described in the next verse. Hari Om.
Thank you. Dr. Sandhya, there were a lot of distortions in your voice because of some internet issues. Towards the end, we may have to repeat yours, and I hope your internet would improve by that time. So I would like you to be ready to repeat your thing, because your chanting came out very well, but after that there was complete distortion, and I was hoping it will get better, but it did not.
So that's sad.
We'll look again. We'll wait for after some time, towards the end.
Okay, sir.
Radha, can you start?
Hello.
Go ahead. Audible.
Okay. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantasya drudhau vrata namasyan tasya mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. This is a beautiful verse about Upasaka's bhakti. Dr. Sandhya has already said enough as to how, to the exclusion of everything, this person will be seeking the Lord. That was a very good point. Let me explain the way I understand this verse. Satatam kirtayanto mam means always glorifying the Lord. There is this verse called Kirtana. Normally our understanding is singing songs of praises or bhajans and things like that. Yes, it means this only. But if we slightly look at it in a different way, if we look at a true bhakta like Purandara Dasa, Annamacharya or Tyagaraja, where did so much of literature come from? Even today people are singing and remembering their compositions after so many hundreds of years. Of course, these were not meant for others to sing, but these were dialogues between the bhakta, originally dialogues between the bhakta and the Lord. Now, they were continuously talking, sharing, pouring out their feelings to the Lord, singing not only the glories of the Lord, but also their severe longing, how much I long for that oneness with the Lord. Whether you call it as a darshana of the Lord or knowing yourself or whatever, whichever way we put it, whether we want to know the truth, that severe longing in that bhakta, their love to the Lord, and everything was conveyed through their literature. Here another beautiful word comes, drudhau vrataha. That means such a person, such a bhakta has a firm, strong resolve. No matter what comes my way, in happiness, in sorrow, in poverty, in loss, in whatever situation maybe the bhakta is going through in life, withstanding all the difficult times, and when we start seeking the Lord, as Sandhya said, to the exclusion of everything, this such a bhakta is always consumed by the love of the Lord, chanting, praying, reading, listening to scriptures. In short, always in satsanga. Like the other Dr. Sandhya had said, Mahapurusha Sangatya, always in the company of people who are the seekers of the truth. And as Venkatesh Prasad said, always indulging in para puja. When can one grow to the stature of doing para puja, always worshipping the Atman within? That means when he is possessed with this resolve that in this very lifetime, I want to know what is the truth. In this very lifetime, I want to know what is God, what is me, and resolve everything. This kind of resolve, strong resolve, such a bhakta has. And this bhakta also maintains his devotion. Every time a trouble comes, he is not complaining to the Lord about the situations around his life. On the contrary, becomes more humble, more devotional, and more prayerful. And such is the strong resolve of this bhakta. Now, karma vishuddhi and bhava vishuddhi come before jnana prapti. Here we are definitely talking about a higher kind of truth. So we are definitely not looking for a darshan from the Lord or something like that. But we are looking for jnana prapti. But what we need to know is before jnana prapti comes, karma vishuddhi and bhava vishuddhi has to come. Karma vishuddhi can be achieved by doing karma kanda, and also in the earlier chapters we have studied how to convert karma into yajna, and that's how it becomes a karma yoga. And when it comes to upasana is very important for bhava shuddhi. Bhava shuddhi is very important, and without having this bhavana, nobody can get jnana. Now, what is this bhavana? There is no English translation for this word, unfortunately. But closest we can say intense feelings for the Lord, intense feeling to know the truth. In Lalita Sahasranama, there is a beautiful verse which says Bhavani Bhavanagamya Bhavaranya Kutarika, which means the Bhavani, the goddess or the Lord, whatever we want to say, can only be found through bhavana. And what is when we have to travel the road of bhavana and then get bhakti, and then only the jnana prapti will happen. Another half a minute. What is this bhavana? Is intense feelings. 24/7 I am preoccupied about this truth. And such a bhavana, when it is purified and crystallized, this becomes the bhakti. And the heights of this bhakti is jnana prapti. When we have the bala of this bhavana, that is the strength of such an intense feeling, it gets converted into a deep devotion to the Lord. And this devotion happens just before the jnana prapti. There's a beautiful composition by Annamacharya. It says, Bhavamulona Bahyamunandano. Bhavamulona Bahyamunandano. Govinda Govinda Ani Koluvavu Manasa. He's saying, oh mind, Bhavamulona, in thoughts, in feelings, in bhavas, and Bahyamunandana, action outside, in chanting. That means inside, outside, all the time, think of only Govinda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Radha, for explanation of this verse from the angle of a devotee. Shamala, your time.
Yeah. Hari Om, Doctor, am I audible?
Be clear, go ahead.
9th chapter, 15th sloka. ज्ञानयज्ञेन चाप्यन्ये यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन Bahudha Vishwato Mukham. Shri Krishna says in this verse, those who seek me, worship me through the ritual of knowledge. The previous shloka, Radha spoke of the Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, while this shloka indicates the path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga. Parallelly, along with Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, the person goes through another sadhana, Jnana Yajna. Jnana Yajna means trying to understand the nature of God. As I try to understand the God more and more, my love for the Lord also will increase. In marriage, if you want to develop a proper relationship, it depends upon understanding. Similarly, if I should have a proper healthy relationship with God, I should ask the question, what exactly is God? Studying scriptures help us to understand who the God is. This sadhana is called the Jnana Yajna. The scriptures teach us in 3 different levels because our mind has to be prepared gradually. First level is introducing Bhagavan as a creator and as a person, giving God also the same features as we have. Our scriptures give not one God. There are so many versions, and often we can choose anyone as Ishtadevata depending upon our inclination. And thereafter, scriptures say, if you look upon God as a finite human being, that God also will be limited. Therefore, you have to change your understanding of God. Therefore, don't limit God to one form. God must be associated with all forms. Once we are ready intellectually to appreciate the next level, we don't say God creates the world. We say God becomes the world. Therefore, Ekarupa Ishvara to Anekarupa Ishvara or Vishwarupa Ishvara. So, this is progressing to an expanded version. If somebody asks, where is God? We answer, where is God not? This is the second level of understanding. If Bhagavan is Vishwarupaha, we can never doubt the existence of Bhagavan. And if we keep this appreciation for some time, we will be ready for third level, that is toughest level. Even Vishwarupa level cannot be the ultimate because even Vishwa, the universal form, is subject to time, change, appearance, disappearance, etc. The universe is conditioned by time and space. If Bhagavan is Vishwarupaha, Bhagavan is also conditioned by time and space. Therefore, we have to recognize the highest level in which we go beyond time, space, attributes, change, etc. And that highest level is called Nirguna Ishvara, Paraprakriti Ishvara, Arupa Ishvara, otherwise called Brahman, which a junior seeker cannot understand. Because that Brahman we cannot see, hear, smell, taste, touch. The Upanishads talk about the highest God, which is the absolute principle. Krishna says Jnana Yajna should go from Ekarupa to Anekarupa to Arupam. In the shloka, Pruthatvena Yajantaha Upasate. Pruthatvena refers to the first level of Ishvara Jnanam, in which Ishvara is seen as a person, as a distinct. Yajantaha Upasate, worshipping. The next level, Krishna says, Mam Vishwato Mukham Upasate, means they worship me of many faces. I am the cause of everything, the maker and the material, Nimitta and Upadana. This is Vishwato Mukham. Then comes to the final level. Ekatvena. Eka means Ekameva Advitiyam Param Brahma. There is only one absolute reality, and all the plurality, names and forms are only appearances caused by Maya. Very difficult to swallow. Just as dream is an appearance, the plurality is dream is not a fact. Like that, the plurality that we experience also is an experience caused by Maya. There is no plurality. There is only one Brahman everywhere. Only one Brahman which was, which is, whichever will be. That is said here as Ekatvena. That is the ultimate Advaita Jnanam. In all these 3 forms are called Jnana Yajnam. Beginner's Jnana Yajnam, intermediary Jnana Yajnam, and final Jnana Yajnam. All these 3 are equally important. Thank you. Hari Om.
Thank you, Shamala, for a nice explanation of a beautiful verse in which Krishna has packed in so much of the three varieties that we need to see God. Jyoti, your time starts.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Aham kritur aham yagyah swadha aham aushadham mantro aham vajyam aham agnir aham hutam. Krutur is the 7 Vedic fire rituals. Yagya is the 5 daily acts of sacrifice. Swadha is the oblations to forefathers. Aushadham is the healing herb. Mantro is the sacred syllable or the transcendental incantation. Vajyam is the clarified butter or cow ghee. Agni is the fire. Hutam is the act of offering. It is similar to the 4.24 Brahma Arpanam Brahma, where everything is a spiritual, every offering is of spiritual nature and every consummation is absolute. During Mahabharata, Karma Kandas were predominant part of life, as life started with them, and such Vedic rituals were a part of our life. Hence, they were very well understood. But today, due to lack of exposure, such rituals are not seen. Hence, this shloka should be implied in every action we perform daily. Even for example, our cooking a meal for our family, we have to see Ishvara in the cooking flame, in the spices, in the vegetables, oil, etc. Bhagwan addresses himself in Bhagavad Gita with different upadhis as Vasudeva, Mahatma, Brahma, and here in this verse as Aham, elevating from a person to absolute. That is not Ahankara, but as the Jagat Karanam and Sthula Sukshma Rupam. Swamiji explained in the previous verse that we have 3 types of students, namely Ekarupa Bhakta, who are the Mandas, Anekarupa Bhakta, who follow the middle path, and the Arupa Bhaktas, called the Uttama Bhaktas. But we are all Madhyama Bhaktas, using the middle path to elaborate on the Vishwarupa Bhakti by looking at the whole creation as manifestation of God. First, admiring the creation, seeing him in Raga Vishayas, example parents, guru, cow, etc., and not in the Dvesha Vishayas, which are of lower order. This verse is the seed for the Vishwarupa Varanam, and the tree manifests in the 11th chapter. Continuing the verse, Swamiji tells Krutu are Shrutra Karmas. The rituals are the prayers called primary, as they are prescribed by Vedas, that are the original scriptures. Cause Vedas reveal God. Example, the Bhagavad Gita is the Vedic teaching. I am that. The yagyas are the smartha karmas. They are the rituals and prayers that derive substance from the Vedas. Hence, they are called secondary or non-Vedic scriptures. Example, the Itihas, Puranas, Smritis, etc. That also I am. The third is the Swadha, that is the offering or the food to the ancestors during the Shraddhas, Pitrupaksha, and the offering to the Devtas, that is the Swaha. I am that also. The Aushadham. In Ayurveda, all the herbs, plants, roots, etc. eaten by all the creation. I am that too. Because whether I offer to the ancestors or I consume it myself, it should be in according to the Vedic mantras. As per Chandogya Upanishad, it is the Prana Agni Hotram. Yagya is the external offering and eating food is the internal offering to the Jatra Agni. Annam Brahma Raso Vishnu. Vishnu is the nourisher of the food. Bhokta Devata Maheshwara. Brahma is the creator of the food. Vishnu is the nourisher of the food. And Maheshwara is the converter or the consumer who breaks it into various nutrients. Iti sanchitya bhunjanaha anya doshar na nipyate. Hence consume it properly to prevent and cure diseases, and everything in the food also I am. The next is mantras and prayers we offer should be offered before eating. Even the mantras, the swaras, the ucharan, as per the Rigveda, the Samaveda and the Yajurveda, I am. Even the Agni, who is the messenger, who is the tongue of Vishnu, Swamiji addresses Agni as Hutavahaha, means the carrier of all the material devotion we offer to the respective devatas. That too I am. Even the Hutam, the act of offering, the Havan Karma, that I am. Hence, the essence of the verse is just as all ornaments are gold, similarly, we are trying to perceive the invisible through the visible in this verse. Hari Om.
Thank you for a very detailed explanation of a verse which looks like a detailed version of Brahmarpanam Brahmahari. Thanks, Jyoti. Dr. Asha Naik's verse will be presented by Vinayakan. Your time.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So this is 17th verse. So from 12th verse up to the 19th verse, Lord Krishna is talking about samsara nivritti upaya, the means of attaining freedom from samsara, otherwise known as moksha upaya. So Lord here explains about bhakti. Bhakti, a solution to samsara nivritti. But bhakti is not sadhana here. Here bhakti is presented as a means of liberation. Bhakti consists of three levels. One is karma lakshana bhakti, upasana lakshana bhakti, jnana lakshana bhakti. The first stage of bhakti is in the form of karma yoga, which will purify the mind. Then upasana lakshana bhakti. Bhakti is in the form of meditation. Then thereby which a person gets the integration of the mind. Then jnana lakshana bhakti, which is nothing but bhakti in the form of shravana manana nididhyasana. So the verse goes like this: Pitamahasya jagato mata dhata pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkaram priksama yajure. So aham asya jagata pita. This verse completely explains about Vishwarupa Darshana. All verses on this series explains about the topic of Vishwarupa Darshana. Here, as I am the Nimitta Karanam and I am the Upadana Karanam. As in short, Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam Aham Asmi. Then here explains, then Dhada. Dhada here means that is Karma Phala Dhada. I am the dispenser, distributor of everything to the Jivas according to their Karma Phala. Anything that is to be given to a jiva, I will decide. And whenever we receive, it's coming from Lord's hand. Hand means nothing but the law of karma. Then Vedyam, I am the ultimate thing to be known. Here, in 13th chapter, it is explained as Jnayam. And in Mandukya Upanishad, it is explained as Vijnayam, Sa Atma Savijnaya. Then next one is Pavitram. Unnati iti Pavitram means greatest purifier. Purifier of the subtle body. Sushma Sharira. Then Omkara. Omkara, we know that is speaking about Aksharam Brahma. And all the Vedas, this Gayatri mantra is coming from the Vedas. All the Vedas, crux in a crux form is Gayatri mantra. And from that Gayatri mantra, this Om is the crux form. So that much importance is Om. Then comes, then explains about Vedas, the essence of all the Vedas. So Rig mantra is in poetic form. Then Yajur mantra, it's in prose form. Then Sama mantra, it's set of musical form. And Atharva also. But here Atharva not explained. Atharva primary contains Laugika, worldly activities. But I am that also. So Lord Krishna here explains, I am in all and I am all. So in a nutshell, the explanation is the explanation is, I am the father, mother, the grandfather, and the dispenser of this universe. I am the one to be known. I am the auspicious as Hello, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, Vinayakan. There was some little distortion, but overall it was okay. Thank you. A nice coverage of the word. We will go to Bhaskar. It is your time, Bhaskar.
918. Bhatir Bhartha Prabhuhi Sakshi Nivasah Sharanam Suhrut Prabhava Pralayasthanam Vidhanam Bija Avyayam. Here, Gatihi means a destination, a goal, which every person has in his mind. Gati or Karmapala is the result of all actions. All accomplishments by a person is one, be it success or failure. This bold statement of Sri Krishna that I am the result of all actions is assuring a person not to reject failure, since Krishna reiterates that rejection of failure is rejection of God. Param says, good or bad, accept the result as it is, since it's a learning experience. Hence, there is nothing separate from Parameshwara. Next is the Bharta. Krishna says that I am the one who nourishes the world. Bharta also means husband, literally a provider. Here, Ishvara is called Bharta because he supports the world by lending the very existence to it. He is the Adhara or Adhisthanam. Prabhu, next, the one who is the master of all glories. If anyone thinks he is rich, then that person is living in fallacy. One's richness depends upon the gift of Bhagavan. He is the source of all resources. Param says, Jiva can never be a karma phala data. Sri Krishna alone is competent to grant. Sakshi. Lord Krishna says, I am Sakshi, even though I am Bharta, sustainer of all creations. Samhara Karta, one who resolves the whole thing, and Srishti Karta, one who creates it again. He claims that I am only a Sakshi. I perform no karma at all. You can complain to Bhagavan, why did you create me like this? Or you could have placed me in a better position. Bhagavan's only answer is, Aham Sakshi. I'm only a witness. I'm not responsible. It is your making through the karmas. The ultimate question is, am I created? Bhagavan's reply is no. Jiva is anadi, timeless, and eternal reality. In fact, such a question is answered at different levels. Hypothetically, if you have created the blueprint that is given by you alone, later, if you pray Ishvara for modification, he says he's helpless. That is how it's now. It is exactly tailor-made according to your karmas. Imagine just before lockdown, you had given your measurements to the tailor. After months of lockdown being lifted, you go to take delivery of the clothing and you find the fitting tight. Certainly your size increment is your own making. And the Atma in you was a mere Sakshi. You can now, along with Bhagavan, say, Aham Sarvasya Karanam, Aham Sakshi. There could be no other way of telling Sakshi. The other way is one who maintains all accounts of your actions of omission and commission. Ishvara says, you cannot get away from my vision, though you can escape from people's eyes. I am the one, the law of karma. This is Sarvajna or Sakshi. Nivasa. Shankara says, it is the place where all beings reside. Param says, it is a repository or storehouse of everything in the creation, including knowledge. In fact, when scientists say that they have discovered something new, Param says, there is no new knowledge, but ignorance removed. Swami Dayananda says, you dwell in a house on this earth, and the earth exists in the solar system, and solar system in the galaxy. And Sri Krishna says, all galaxies live in me. Nivasa of entire creation, because he is the Sarvasya Adhisthanam, the basis of everything. Sharanam, seeking refuge, means refuge. Going to heaven is transitory. Refuge is a place you can relax and never be buffeted about samsara. We have in our studies come across many illustrious persons seeking refuge in the Lord, like Dhruva, Draupadi, Gajendra, and presently the text we are dealing is Arjuna. Param says, when samsara crocodile is tormenting me, then I surrender to the Lord, and Bhagavan sends Sudarshana Chakra. Darshana here means Gnanam. This is incidental and ultimate protection. Next we go on to Suhri. Bhagavan is called Suhri. Pratyopa Upakara Anupeksha. One who helps without expectations or favors in return. In fact, you have no introduction to that person, but out of empathy and compassion, the unknown person reaching out to you. This is the classic example of none other than Bhagavan. In this bodily consciousness, we look upon our relatives and friends, eventually forgetting that their relationship is temporary, but separation is inevitable since death is certain. We should realize that God has no self-interest since he is complete by himself. He lends his selflessness for our own welfare. Next, we go to Prabhava and Pralaya. Srishti Sthiti Laya is the meaning of that. Next, we proceed to Nidhanam. A question can be asked: as the cause of creation, does Brahman undergo any modification? This is answered by Nidhana, the basis in which cause and effect are placed. Brahman is called the creator with reference to Jagat. It does not change, meaning everything is superimposed. Nyaya Bijam, Avyaya Bijam. Sri Krishna says that whatever the name and person are in the Jagat are subject to change and disappearance, whereas cause is not subject to change. As long as samsara exists, Avyaya Bija is there, imperishable and indestructible. If Jagat is looked upon as sprout, then its potential form is Avyakta. The cause is Avyaya, because everything comes from it. Seed is the unmanifested tree. Similarly, the state of Avyakta Pralaya, the state of Pralaya is Bijam Avyaya, the Lord. Hari Om.
Thank you, Bhaskar, for helping us to understand the higher nature of God through your explanation of this verse. We will go back to Dr. Sandhya Ravi. I hope your internet is better now. Dr. Sandhya?
Yeah, Hari Om, I hope so too, sir. Am I audible now?
Very clear. Go ahead.
No, very clear, Sandhya.
Okay. Sorry for the repeat, but thank you for the opportunity to speak again. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritimashritah bhajanti ananya manaso nyatva bhutadim avyayam. The meaning of this verse is, on the other hand, Arjuna, great souls who have embraced the divine nature, knowing me as the prime source of all lives and the imperishable eternal, worship me constantly with none else in mind, undistracted. So we saw in verse 11 and 12 that the demonic and the asura and the rakshasa characteristics were described, and they refer to the predominance of the tamasic or the rajasic gunas. Here was, like Sir said, on a positive note, and mentions the men filled with third guna, that is sattva or wisdom. So Krishna always brings the contrasting factors against each other to drive home a point. The deceitful nature, Mohini Prakriti of the previous verse, is contrasted with the Daivi Prakriti, the divine nature. So going to the meaning of the verse, tu, that is the indeclinable word, has been employed in this verse to bring out this contrast. The word prakritim, along with the adjective daivim, qualifying it, signifies virtues of the sattvic type, those virtues which lead one to God and which are mentioned in the 16th chapter, verses 1 to 3, under 26 different names, that is abhayam, akrodha, satyam, tyaga, etc. So to adopt and cultivate such virtues is what is meant by ashritaha daivi prakriti, embracing the divine nature. Mahatmanaha. Mahatmanaha means noble souls, the punyavantaha, satya, sattva pradhanaha. They are indeed very fortunate to have been born into a cultured family, possibly because of Janma Punya. They have proper spiritual guidance, they lead a dharmic life. So this combination of sattva guna and the mind pure and karmas that they do, and over and above the Ishvara anugraha that they have, is what leads them to realize the imperishable nature of God through what is called the Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. So what happens when this Viveka dawns? we realize that peace, security, happiness we cannot get from this world, but only from God. Now, such Mahatmanaha have understood me, Krishna says, Mam Nyatva, to be the ultimate refuge. And so, who is this Mam? This Mam refers to the one who is Bhutadim, the Jagat Karanam, the prime source of all lives, who is responsible for the Shrishti Sthiti Laya of all the beings, including the worlds inhabited by them, as well as the body, senses, mind, intellect, objects of enjoyment. And what is spoken of in the chapter that we studied earlier, chapter 7, verse 6. Etadyoni bhutani sarvani upadaraya aham kritsnasya jagata prabhava pralayastata. So I am the source as well as the ground for dissolution of the entire universe. And just now what Bhaskar spoke about, verse 18 also talks about the same thing, that he is the goal, the upholder, the Lord, the witness, etc. So the other characteristic of this Mam is, Bhutadim is one, Avyayam, the impetual, Ananta, infinite. Here Swami Param says, again the example of the cardboard box, and says we can use it for everything, cardboard chair, sorry. We can use it for everything other than sitting. Similarly, other than God, we don't know anything else for peace, security, and happiness. So the wise know this. Even before experiencing some difficulties or trauma, they learn to lean on the Lord, just like Arjuna did. In Arjuna Vishada Yoga, we see that just imagining the loss of Drona and Bhishma, he turned to Krishna for support. So these great souls, the Mahatmanaha, knowing the impossible, eternal nature of Brahman, Bhutadim, Avyayam Brahman, they constantly worship him. And how do they do this? They do this through Ananya Manasa, that is with nothing else in mind, with Chitta Ekagrata, with a mind that is not attracted to anything other than Brahman. Even while going through the various ashramas like Grihastha Ashrama, Vanaprastha, while following the four Purusharthas, Artha and Kama only incidental in their lives, and through leading a dharmic life, they attain the ultimate moksha. Such a devotee of divine nature constantly worships God, is what is said in this verse. And of course, the following verses which we've heard describe how this worship is being done. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sandhya. This time it was much more clearer. We could get the message. And thank you once again. With that, we'll conclude today's class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhaved. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Just a reminder that we are